Hey, it's Jordan. I'm in Philadelphia. We're in Kensington, which is a pretty rundown, poor area, a lot of homelessness. Police are out here, other places, trying to move homeless people, evict them, sweep them. I'm here with...
Alfred Klosterman.
And Alfred, do you live in Kensington?
The next stop up, Harrogate. This is actually the beginning of Harrogate. Yeah.
Is the audio okay because of the train?
I would like to correct a statement where you said homeless people. These are not homeless people. These are drug addicts who are here for the drugs. Many of them are 20-somethings who could go home and mom and dad tomorrow, but the drugs are here, so they're here. And
so why do you think they're on drugs?
I have no idea why, but they all have been herded in the art community by the city and social forces, and we're stuck with dealing with it. I mean, you come out every morning, there's needles everywhere, human waste everywhere. Just this morning, a flower pot was stolen off my porch because down the other end of my block is a big drug market. So if they can sell a flower pot or a tool or something for $5, they go down the other end of the block, buy their heroin.
So if there's drug use that residents don't like, if there's bowel movements on the floor that residents don't like, is it the homeless people's fault that don't have toilets or can't get relief for their drug problem, or is it the city's fault? They have a lot of abandoned properties, a lot of open space for the homeless, but they do patchwork programs, but they don't actually try and house the homeless. Aren't you kind of targeting or blaming the wrong group of people rather than the city?
Not at all, because like I said, many of them have homes to go to, and the city has offered them housing and...
You've taken a survey that they have homes to go to? Do you have data that how many have homes?
Talk to many, yeah. I can't say, I'll say it's anecdotal. But yeah, you talk to them, you talk to people, well, yeah, I have a wife here, or I have parents there, but this is where the drugs are. Now, the city has offered them treatment, offered them housing, and they won't leave.
That's talking to homeless people. I hear the exact opposite.
No.
I hear the exact opposite.
In fact,
that they were put in a hotel during COVID, evicted soon after. The city promised them permanent housing to leave the hotel and then didn't follow through. So either many homeless people are not telling the truth or the city's not telling the truth.
Many homeless people aren't. In fact,
You trust the politicians?
not politicians, I trust government employees. And I happen to know the head of the opioid response unit, and she was talking to me yesterday saying, no, this is on the table for them, but you cannot force them, and that's the problem. If you force them, then you get the ACLU, whoever, saying, oh, you can't kidnap them. But no, there are offers on the table for them.
So, I mean, I'm not trying to be confrontational, but you do know that government officials often don't tell the truth, whether it's the CIA, whether it's whether it's politicians, they tell half-truth. My point to you is, I'm pretty sure, I've covered homelessness not just here, San Francisco, Portland, Seattle. It's very similar in most places. It is 100% the case that the majority of these people would happily leave the streets if they had permanent affordable housing or I just spoke with a homeless person who was a construction worker, got laid off during the pandemic, has been sleeping in a park for over a year, can't get another construction job because he doesn't have a residence to put on and the shelters have not allowed him back in. So it seems that you're making generalizations without...
You're making generalizations based on anecdotal data of your own.
Anecdotal? No, I've been to many, many cities. This is very, very common.
San Francisco, Palo Alto, all over the West Coast. Okay. And I do know the difference between homeless and drug addiction.
Okay. What's the difference?
I've lived
What's
here.
the difference?
If people are here just for the drugs and don't want to leave, that's the difference. Okay. And you're not being fair. If you're being a journalist.
Yeah, I should stand like a robot.
No, but okay. I'm saying you should be fair and neutral, to borrow a Fox phrase,
no.
which I don't listen to. But
neutral. Excuse me. Neutral is bullshit. None of them are neutral. They're all biased. But putting that aside, what I find interesting here, and I'm sure you're a good guy. I'm sure you've gone through struggle in your life, whether it was Maybe not drugs, maybe mental health, maybe poverty, whatever. But I think the thing that maybe you're missing is, these people don't have air conditioning during the summer. You do.
No,
These
I don't.
people, okay.
We're a low-income community. We're the victims here. Okay. Most people in my community are what they call deep poverty, under $12,000 a year.
So you just made my point, though. People here with housing are struggling very badly.
Yeah, but we rob from our neighbors like these drug addicts do. And I think I've had enough. All due respect to you.
Because you don't like your viewpoint being challenged?
I don't like your intimidating tactics, quite frankly.
I'm intimidating you?
Never mind.
Okay. That's what happens. I will give many Trump supporters more credit. When I've interviewed them, I can't really remember any of them walking away. A self-described progressive said I was intimidating him. I don't know if it's a stick. John, was I intimidating?
I don't think so. I think you were very...
I said respectfully, I'm sure you're a good person. But I think there's an important point here. I think there's an important point to be told here. And this is bigger than just homelessness. This is bigger than just homelessness in Philadelphia. And I have a police officer monitoring me here, so that's good too. What's really happening in America, and by the way, it's also happening in other countries with fascism creeping in, is the United Corporations of America, i.e. the government, the banks, the lobbyists, the fossil fuel companies, Big Pharma, Silicon Valley, what they're doing, and it wasn't just Trump, by the way, it's local governments all over the country. They are basically brainwashing struggling people like that man and this community who, let's say, have housing. They're brainwashing them to look at the other direction. Look at the homeless people. Look at the Mexicans. Look at the Muslims. Look at African Americans. Look at Hispanics, indigenous. Look everywhere else other than City Hall. Look everywhere else other than Congress. Look everywhere else other than the White House. You're struggling to pay your bills. You're struggling to pay your utilities. You're struggling to put food on the table for your children. It's the people pooping in the streets' fault. It's the people using drugs because they have addiction that they can't go get treated because they're homeless, because they're mentally ill. They're coping with living out on the streets. But you want to blame them, the victims of capitalism, instead of your city that is not doing everything it can. Not just Philadelphia, cities all around the country that are not doing everything they can to house these individuals, to help rehabilitate them, to help with job programs, to help with drug addiction, to help with mental illness, to reunite families. He said, all these people have places to go. Well, I just spoke with several. One, his mother, by the way, a homeless person, just died 4 days ago. His mother was in a nursing home. I don't think he could go stay there. Or others who their relatives are also homeless. Or others who don't use drugs and their relatives do use drugs in housing. So they don't want to go stay with their relatives because they don't want to be around drugs. So I think, and this guy is a dime a dozen, plenty of them. I'm not, he said I was intimidating him. I guess actual journalism intimidates folks. They're used to softball bullshit. And by the way, I just want to point out, neutrality in journalism is a farce, okay? It was actually invented to appease advertisers many, many decades ago. Journalism did not start with neutral journalists. There's a difference between neutrality and objectivity. So I'm not challenging him based on stuff I read online. I'm challenging him based on traveling the country for 6 years. I'm challenging him based on, literally speaking, with, at this point, thousands of people, including homeless people, including people about to be homeless, including relatives of homeless people. It is not as generalized as he's saying. And by the way, when he mentions they're pickpocketing people, this and that, of course, it's not okay to steal. But if you are desperately hungry, if you are desperately thirsty, okay, if you are desperately cold, if you are desperately hot, if you are desperately fill in the blank, what is the alternative other than trying to get money? What is the alternative? As humans, we have a basic survival instinct. I'm not condoning theft, but what about the theft from the government? They're taking your money, Philadelphia, and giving it to Comcast, which owns NBC and MSNBC. They're taking your money and giving it to the real estate developers. They're taking your futures, giving it to real estate developers, banks buying up real estate, media companies that they're giving breaks to, donors. That's not theft? That's not pickpocketing? No, we don't talk about that. So we'll continue covering it. And I just want to point out, journalism and challenging someone on predispositions is not intimidation or threats or anything of this kind. Thank you.